No, I was born October 4th, 1941, Cincinnati, Ohio. Moved to Hamilton, Ohio, which is just north of Cincinnati, when I was 5, and stayed there until went through grade school, high school, and then got an academic scholarship to the University of Dayton, Ohio, in pre-med. Went to St. Louis University Medical School from 62 to 66. Did a rotating internship at Milwaukee County General Hospital in Milwaukee. 66, 67, then I got an all-expense paid vacation by Uncle Sam to Southeast Asia in 67 to 68. 68, 69, Fort Knox, Kentucky, in charge of a medical dispensary. Discharged, went to Duke University then for my radiology residency, 70 to 73. And North Carolina's had me ever since. Was in Mooresville, North Carolina for 17 years, and then came to Morganton here to practice radiology at Grace Hospital in 1991. Retired there in 1997 when one of my eyes could only be corrected to 20/30. Yeah, so I've been retired since then. When I found out I was assigned to Vietnam for a year, I had very ambivalent feelings. It's halfway around the world. Here we are here in North Carolina. In Vietnam, you go all the way across the Pacific. There's Hawaiian Islands. Over past the Philippines to right there is Vietnam on the South China Sea. Was known as French Indochina before the Vietnam War, and because the French, it was a province of France until after World War II. And I had very ambivalent feelings when I got my orders to go there, because I did not, in my own mind, know why we were there. I didn't think it was ever explained to me, or for that matter to the American public, why we were there, and furthermore, what our objectives were. At that time, as an officer, you had to get on your own to your port of departation, and this was San Francisco for me. So when I left after my internship, my wife stayed. I had a 3-month-old son, and she was, a 6-month-old son, and she was 3 months pregnant when I left. Finally got on the flight, left at midnight. We landed at Benoit Air Force Base, which is about 30 miles north of, I think 30, maybe 15 to 30 miles north of Saigon. And my first impression when I got off the plane is, oh my God, I'm in an oven. You were in an air-conditioned plane, all of a sudden you were hit by this tremendous heat. And for me, I was first assigned to the 36 Evac Hospital in Vung Tau, and on surgery, where I served for 5.5 months, and then was sent to the field as a battalion surgeon for the 2nd and 39th 9th Infantry Division, which was in the Mekong Delta. Or Vietnam was divided up into 4 corps. 1, 2, 3, and 4, with number 1 corps being called I Corps, if you ever hear of it, and that was the furthest north. And the southernmost portion was 4 corps, and that consisted of basically the Mekong Delta. I was assigned to 36 Evac Hospital in Vung Tau at first, which was a very safe place to be. An Evac hospital is a 400-bed military hospital that's full service. But in Vietnam, the helicopter took away pretty much the clearing company, took away the MASH unit, the MASH hospital, because the evacuation helicopter, known as a dust-off, if you ever hear it, that's what it was named, would take the wounded directly from the battlefield to a 400-bed evacuation hospital. The average time I was told between a man wounded until he was in a definitive facility, usually a 400-bed hospital, was 45 minutes,
Wow.
which was actually better than if you were in a car accident in this country. So the dust-off pilots were really heroes because they would come in under all sorts of fire to get our wounded out. As a battalion surgeon, I would be where the vast majority of the battalion was. If you had like a company going out on a sweep, but 3 companies back, I would be with the 3 companies. If the whole battalion went on a sweep, then I would go with the battalion. So my job patching them up was usually due to incoming mortars in the fire support base, where we took a lot of casualties. And my job was basically to keep them alive until a dust-off could come in and take them to a facility that could do more definitive work. Stop major bleeding, replace fluids. The first fire support base, Fells, we were mortared 1 to 4 times a night, and it was in a rice paddy. And you couldn't really dig down. The surface was dry, but you got down 6 inches and you were in this quagmire. So you dug a slit trench and covered it with sandbags, but had to sleep in the open and dive for that slit trench. You'd sleep fully clothed with flak jacket, helmet, etc. And between first and second round, you would have average maybe 4 seconds, 3 to 6 seconds, so 4 to 5 seconds. And from a dead sleep, you would be in that bunker before the second round hit. And it's amazing because we had a battery of 105 howitzers, which are 6 guns, and they could fire all night and you would sleep, but let one mortar come in, it was a different sound, and you'd be in that bunker before the second round hit. And you just hope that first round didn't get you. Well, this is a national defense ribbon. Anybody goes in the Army gets that. These are Vietnam campaign and Vietnam. One you were in the country, the other one you were in that era. This is the South Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry with a silver star, and that's a South Vietnamese government medal for, I think, valor. I never got a write-up on that. In fact, I sent my DD-214 off to have this made at a company, and they came back and they said that with a silver star, and that's the first time I knew there were 3 different grades of this. There was a gold, there was a bronze, gold, and silver star. So I don't know if this is where this is, but anyway, DD-214 had it on there. This is a bronze star for meritorious service. If you did a rather exceptional job, they would give you a bronze star for meritorious service, and that basically is they think you did a good job. That was the highest you could go for meritorious service as a captain. If you were a full bird colonel and above, you could get what was called the Legion of Merit. And they put me in for the Legion of Merit at battalion level, but it came back as a bronze star after it went up to division. So it got knocked down, but I was honored that they put me in for the Legion of Merit. These 3 are bronze stars with a V device, and V stands for valor. And then the silver star, that's the 3rd highest valor award for the military. When I came back, I felt I didn't come back to my country.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, if I weren't married, I would have gone back, because at least I had a purpose there. I didn't belong here. This is a statue, a bronze statue, up in Washington, D.C. It depicts 3 infantrymen, and it's right next to what we call the Wall, which is the Vietnam Memorial. And I saw this with the inscription that says, "Greater love hath no man than this, that he lay down his life for his friends." And I lost 6 medics in my 6 months out there, and each one died taking care of a fallen GI. So this is my tribute to them. I've been to the Wall 26 times, and I've cried 26 times. Their tour of duty in the field was a year. Mine was 6 months, and I had 14 medics in the field. I had some in the rear, and if you extrapolate, I would have lost over a year's period of time 12 of the 14, because I lost 6 in 6 months. So mortality rate for them was better than 80%. The one that's especially hard is Stapleton. When I was assigned to the 2nd and the 39th, he was the only one that was married, and the doc there before me had him as his personal gopher to protect him so that he would get back to his wife, and he said an unborn child. And when I took over, I felt that my principal said you treat every man the same. So I called him in and I told him he would have to serve in the field like everybody else and hope like hell. He made it. And I would not play favorites. I didn't need a gopher. I could polish my own boots. And I got dysentery, and he had 42 days left in country, and I never let any medic out in the field the last month, because the highest mortality rate among any guys in the field was the first month and the last month. The first month due to inexperience, and the last month because they weren't thinking what they were doing. Their mind was someplace else. And it took my medics about a week to find me in the 3rd Field Hospital in Saigon. And first thing, Blair came in. He was one of my better medics, and I said, "Get Stapleton out of the field." He said he was killed 5 days previous. I have 5 sons, 4 of them in 5 years. During that time, it was hectic, and I did not accept the fact that I might have some post-traumatic stress disorder, which I denied for 44 years. But I really think it affected them, because the one thing with PTSD is the fact that you cannot get emotionally involved, and you couldn't in Vietnam. I came back with a total, absolute, flat affect. I didn't laugh, I didn't cry, and the reason that when you're over there, you can't allow your emotions to interfere with anything, because if you do, you're liable to do something stupid. So you deny all emotion, and it's really hard to turn that back on again. So I did fine with my kids, but I think, if I had to do back over again, that I really did not give them the soft side of me, the loving side of me that I would have had it not been for Vietnam. I think I know how I felt all along. It wasn't a question if the South Vietnam government was going to fall. It was only a question of when. And it again goes back to one of my feelings that the United States should never, underline never, support a government that doesn't have support of the people. So message I had when I left was, it's not a question of when, the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese are going to succeed. Without the Americans being there, the South Vietnamese soldiers would cut and run, and South Vietnam would fall. And I left in '68, and it took a while, but that's what happened. And most of the people I knew and talked to felt the same way, that it's going to happen. It's just a question of time. And it is just a pathetic damn shame that 58,000 Americans died for what?